So I'm Michele Buccarello. I'm cloud architect for Reneo, and also an IBM champion. And currently, what I'm doing is to work as a cloud architect in Reneo. I designed the joint cloud to our application, and also I'm responsible for the DevOps team in our company. So cloud mainly is my mood. Okay. What today I'm trying to talk because it's a complex topic. So if you think application modernization is something is coming really hot years by years. So the trend in the past years was only Docker, Kubernetes, microservice. Now in the last CNCF event, we see a lot of talking about service mesh. But here's the thing, we need to think about what we have in our company. Most of the company are in the legacy stack, and we need to find a way to drive the company in this beautiful world if this makes sense, because we need to keep in mind that if make a journey to cloud can be a good way or not. It depends. It depends. So the message is this is just a set of slides that explain some behavior, some good things you should do and take care, but it's not applicable for all the application and all the environment. Okay. So in the first slide, I try to shoot most of the common questions. So if I ask what is the application modernization for you, what do you think? In my mind, generally, when I think, when I thought for the first time, and when I discuss with different people, these are the mainstream. So application modernization, if you want to go to Kubernetes, I need to refactor the application. This can be right, I don't know, following new program stack, microprofile, event programming, or okay, well, we have our legacy application, we create a brand new, and then we switch over. This can be another path. Or put everything in a container, put everything in a public cloud. Virtual machine, you can see virtual machine, your VMware cluster, but you can also have in AWS or in another cloud, okay? Or put everything on Kubernetes. This can be a way to do application modernization. This is something is coming up in every mind in the people that are approaching for the first time this kind of topic. This is what I think, in my opinion. So refactoring can be. So sometimes refactoring can be a good thing. Sometimes can't, because if you're taking a lot of time, your company is spending a lot of money, and probably the time factor is a good factor you need to keep in mind. So refactoring can be good, sometimes not. New programming stack, okay, but there is always a consistent problem between your legacy stack and the new stack. If you think to convert part of your application to use microprofile, for example, it's not really straightforward. So we need to be taking care about your application first. Create a stable app, okay, but again, time factor, it's a problem. Put everything in a container in a public cloud on Kubernetes. Is that a modernization? No. We are just changing the environment of the application. That's all. It's not application modernization. So we first, at the first attempt to avoid confusion and have in mind a clear path for your application and also for the company that you work for him. So these are points. There are a lot of consideration we can do about what is application modernization. In my mind, what I try to follow, but it's not really simple, is the 12-factor app manifesto. Who is aware in this room about 12-factor app manifesto? Okay. So for who is not aware, these are just, not really just, a set of rules. These rules are made by an experienced team in 2009 by the cloud team of Heroku. I think Heroku is the first really cloud, not AWS anyway. And to make application work in a cloud environment where everything is scalable, where everything can down in time, get spin up in time, they found these 12 rules and they created the 12-factor application. So these are the principles you need to follow to say, my application is a cloud native application. I'll try to focus not on null factor, explain what is the per factor, because if you go in the site per factor, it's really detailed and well explained. I try to share with you some of the points that can be fixed by following this principle. And then after that, we talk to aspects that are not really technical, but impact you during the journey of the application modernization. So if we go back to our scenario, so migrate a Java application. These are kind of the normal problem you can probably face in a Java scenario. So think about it. You have an application server with 2, 3, I don't know, 6 web applications inside. And typically, in a legacy world, we have a dependency between these applications. So these applications are talking with each other. Typically, if you are in a cluster scenario, they try to share the same information. So if I log in on the JVM 1 and I don't know, the load balancer put me on the second JVM, I need to be logged in as well. So they share this kind of information. Also, you can do in-process communication through JNDF lookup, AJB calls. You have shared the library because if I have one jar file, why I need to put jar file in all my application? I create a shared library and put everything inside the shared library. Best practice of the past. Also, we have a bunch of property file. This is true. And in a cluster environment, we need to take care on some infrastructure aspects. So if I add a new node on my cluster, I need to inform our node, okay, I'm here, I'm a new member. So these kind of things are a normal scenario in enterprise customer, in bank assurance, whatever you think. These are common things. Do you agree? Okay. Okay. So the basic, not really basic question is how can I fix this problem? So my approach after many fail is resuming these 4 points. So what I did is first we need to select an application server that works well with a container environment. Because if you think about Tomcat, okay, it's good, it's fun, you can work, but if you do like we do normally in Docker, so we increase the version with from version Tomcat 6 to Tomcat 7, are you sure that your application is really working? No, the answer is no, because in every version Tomcat put a lot of things and you are not aware, you are only aware when you do the migration and you test if things are working or not. Another thing I use is a middleware container approach. I will go in detail in the next slide. If your application is composed by more than one application, and this is common behavior, you need to find a way to isolate all the dependency. And if you think about the 12-factor app, dependency is one of the factors you need to follow. If you have a classic scenario, we need to have something in cloud we call server discovery, because we need to manage the spin up of new JVM, and all the JVM, they need to be aware that they are not alone. Is that clear? Any question? Okay. So, what currently using Premier and what let me say, probably use for around 4 or 5 years is Liberty. Liberty is an application server designed for cloud. First point, zero migration path for binary configuration. What does it mean? If I change my Docker container version from Liberty version 18 to Liberty version 19, I don't need to change any configuration at the application server level or at my application. So in Liberty, the concept is we try to give you a way to move in or out version without changing anything about the configuration of the application server. It is something we really need when we are working in containers, because we are fast, we need to change version, move back, test, roll back, and so on. If your application server doesn't have a concept similar, probably you should think to change or try to find a solution to that. Modular, what does it mean? If you have a standard application server, probably you load in memory a lot of things, a lot of modules. Probably the connector to talk with an LDAP, but if you have just a limited function to use, the LDAP function you don't need. So in Liberty, you can declare something we call feature and compose your application server with all the features you need to require. And this helps you to contain the amount of memory used, the bootstrap of the application server, and so on. Other cool things is native support for Stack, native support for Prometheus. So you put your application in Liberty, you add the feature for Stack or Prometheus, and you have the Prometheus trap directly from the application server, where you can see all the stats from the application server what happened, and also is directly Liberty that send you, without using the file bit instrumentation, the trap to Logstation, if you're aware about the Stack. Another cool fact is Liberty by default allows you to package the entire server. So you run the command from the CLI, server package server 1, and you have a zip file or targz, depend on the environment, for your entire application server. So you can just put it in a container, and you have another, your colleague, for example, can run what you are running on your laptop by a single command. Another thing I really like, and people is not talking too much about Liberty, is the server level file. So if you think about the principle, one of these is avoid properties file. So use environment to manage the behavior or default aspect of your application. And server is a file that allows you to control environment variable at the process level. So this allows you to bootstrap your container with a default setting, and then you can override, extend. So this is a cool feature for my experience. Middleware container. So middleware container, I think the words explain itself. So we have now the right application server. We create a Docker image or container out of the application server, and we package everything inside this container. But there are some rules we need to respect. So a middleware contains an application that contains only one application. So in the path, what we are doing in middleware container is, okay, we start with an application server with 3 applications. Okay, we split the application with 3 containers. We try to isolate and fix the dependency problem. And then you have 3 separated JVM. In this phase, you can think about, okay, this is good because I'm trying to split and I try to move slowly to a microservice approach. The problem in this step is you are consuming more memory than normal. So there is always a tail. You need to, there's something, always you need to pay attention what are you doing. But I think more memory now, it's not a problem. We can pay more memory because by separating, you can also think about, okay, now I can scale just only a piece of my application, or also, okay, this piece of application is really, really old, we need to refactor. But you don't refactor the entire application, set application. You just focus on what is important to focus on. Also, we need to take care about the state. So think about in a web application. Web application in a legacy application, they always keep state information. We need to relay the state outside the Java process, not in memory. If you relay in memory, this is a problem because if you put your container in Kubernetes and Kubernetes decide you are eating so much memory, Kubernetes kill your pod. So this kind of information must be outside the process. Another things I kind of suggest is the communication can be or must be, it depends, HTTP, via messaging framework, so something that can avoid the state problem. Okay. Question? Another point I told you is dependency and service quality. So one important thing is to try to isolate our application because we need to create a different middle of container. So remove the dependency every time means change the code or sometimes a piece of the architecture. I don't know. It depends about how the environment and the application is complex. So keep in mind this. So isolation is not a simple step. You need to understand what are the problems you are facing. Okay. If I remove, for example, agent equal because I speak to application, you need to change the behavior and the communication between the two apps. A service query is required to properly scale your middleware container because if you have just only container and not a container orchestration like Kubernetes, because your company is needed, you need to think about to have something they manage for you the discovery of the new members. In fact, in Kubernetes environment, these are a must-have. So you need to have your application that work in a way where state and self-discovery are not a problem. Kubernetes provides you a self-discovery. The state you need to manage by yourself. So, just some question now, just to understand if what I did is clear and if you agree or disagree, please tell me. So now, let's assume, now you did all the must-have, so we are following all the principle. Our legacy application now, it's a 12-factor app application, so it's a cloud-native application. We are happy, we did our job, that's great. So you are ready to go. But another question we need to think about is how our IT department is free to go on the same way, at the same velocity we are working on. So they are ready to work in a Kubernetes environment. They are aware about container technology. Sometimes you just think about application, but you forget that you are in an environment with different colleagues. and you need this colleague to do your job. So generally, unfortunately, the answer is no. So my advice is it's a better idea to collaborate with the IT department and try to let the IT department or the people who's working in infrastructure to grow up with you, so they can feel the problem and understand the complexity behind this kind of tools. Another problem that when we are doing application modernization is management. So you are writing an application, and after you finish to do that, you need to say to your manager, "Hey, okay, I did my work, I'm okay." But your management, they need to think in the same way you think. So they need to set pros and cons about what does it mean to work in distributed environment like Kubernetes. So there is some complexity that probably the team in the first day are not aware, and they need to learn. And management must be aware about this kind of things. So you need to bring your management day by day. Try to explain what are the problems, give to him feedback. Try to bring in the cloud world. Okay. So this journey it's not only technical, because technical problems are always fixed. This is a cultural problem most of the time. Another question is, do you really need Kubernetes? This is the most question, but from my side is probably the better question is, your business or your customer need Kubernetes? Because sometimes when you see new technology that are beautiful like Kubernetes, you think, okay, we do great things. You go on the customer side, you see the customer face say they don't complain why you did these complicated things. And that's a huge problem. So my question is, your customer or your company is ready to accept to work with good technology like this? Or are you sure VM aren't the best solution for you? Because sometimes with some adjustment by following the principle described in the 12-factor app and using the public cloud to scale VM up and down, you are done. You did a great job. You did your journey to cloud. You don't need sometimes to go on container in production. So we need to take care always these kind of things in mind. Agree, disagree? Okay. So some lesson learned. So Kubernetes or a public cloud, you need to always keep in mind is just a starting point of the journey. I know you probably spent 6 months, 1 year to adapt or change your application to be a cloud native application. But when you did your job, you are just to the start of your journey to cloud. And probably this is just the first application, and probably there are other projects you need to take care and let your company to grow with you. Also, in the case you don't need Kubernetes because you face yourself say, okay, Kubernetes it's not for me, it's really too complex to adapt my application, I just need to scale up VMs, for example. But Docker can be used to improve the development quality. Okay, but please keep in mind, do not force your customer or your company to use container approach in production if it's not required. This is a good point you need to keep in mind. So you can mix Docker and VM to improve the quality of development and QA team, for example. There are different patterns. So you can mix things, take the benefit of cloud, do the stuff on the development side, and let it be the production in another way. So this more or less what I described in the past slide some of the point, but I think this is one important point. So if you are a developer or you are involved in a cloud journey, you need to be a cultural driver for the company, not only technical. So, okay, you like the technology, but you need to think about the impact your technology creates on the company. And this is an important thing because sometimes good thing can be misunderstood instantly. It happens. True story. Other lessons learned, try always to explain the beauty of open source. What does it mean? We are using a lot of open source in the company, but in reality, the reality is there is no open source strategy in the company. So sometimes companies they think, okay, this thing is free, it works, go in production. When there is a problem, they ask you, okay, how we can fix the problem? It's not simple like this. How many people are putting in production Kafka and they are not aware on how to properly set up Kafka in production, for example. But the same problem you have with the simple Apache HTTP server. There are some people using HTTP server in production and they're not aware to how to properly configure. The problem is the same. So we need to be sure there is an open source strategy in the company. There are people that are following that open source product, and they are also part of the community of that product. It's really important to give back to the community. It's always important. Sometimes working with other with other guys that are working open source project, let you know problem and visibility to other complication before that happens. So it's good for the open source project, but also it's really good for the company. Last point. In a journey to cloud, where you are modernizing this application, you need to keep in mind these problems are not only technical. Human problems are always, repeat, are always the worst problem. This is my favorite point. Unable to exit from the comfort zone. So you ask, okay, now we start to develop with Docker container. Oh no, this is complex. So please, I prefer to work with my virtual machine, and that's all. So this is a huge problem. So this means to avoid this kind of problem, you need a strategy with the company. You need to let the people comfortable to fail again, because after 10 years you're working and you have your seniority, it's very difficult to accept to fail again and start again the process. So it's more important thing. Another things I really dislike is avoid meetup and community events. So guys, we need to talk with each other, share the experience, but also share problems. If you share problems, this is the only way to grow. Okay. Another point, but there are a lot of points. We can talk, I think, for 20 minutes over about this point. Management without a good vision, because not only developers and IT are the worst part of the company, but also management without a good vision of the future. And if they don't understand cloud is here, this can be another problem. So again, what is application modernization for you now? For me, is my opinion is a good mix between objective, people, company environment. It's not only technical. And please always keep in the center customer in your product. So if you feel containers, Kubernetes, cloud native, it's not right for you, don't use it. Improve your application or change the strategy. Any question?
I'd like more like a chat question for this. Assuming like I'm an old Java guy, I really like IntelliJ, Maven. That's all my work. I give you the warning and that's and you figure out how to deploy it GBOS or whatever. So now you're telling me I'm going to change your job. You need to know how to use the Dockerfile and how to build the container, test it, understand it, and then hopefully you can even build a Helm chart and publish it. So do you think that we need to revamp the job? So my understanding is we should stop hiring specialists like QE or just all Java guys or DevOps guy. We need someone who's transversal, who can understand all of these.
So I think the question is really, so it's really complex to answer this question because there are a lot of aspects need to cover and figure out. So the problem, I think, is only, and I repeat, only related about exit from the comfort zone. So if you are not, able to change, and yes, the hiring process right now it's really worst. Yeah, it's not really good. They are asking. I remember 3 years ago when they are searching people working actively in Kubernetes. Over 5 years, and Kubernetes was active since 2015. So it's crazy. The HR they are not aware about what they are asking. So this is a problem, And yes, I think the only way to have good DevOps or cloud people is to instruct the people in the company and also let be a part of the community. Because now I think the big change we have in cloud native with the CNCF is really the community. So if you follow the community and if you follow the project from the community perspective, you're always up to date and you know what are the best things to do for your company, and also this is the safer and fast way to grow up with the technology. Other question? Someone is interested in liberty, someone interested in, I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking about liberty, another thing you asked me. Yeah, I had the idea of getting clustered Java application. I used to work a lot with Atlassian things, where you use these silly things called Hazelcast, and we got a bunch of GVMs sharing objects and like HA proxy or whatever on top of them and a shared NFS. So if I translate this to the new world of Kubernetes, it's going to be whatever stateful thing like stateful set, and if I assume that, and then a service that can.
I prefer to avoid stateful set, but yes,
yeah,
can work.
Yeah, so my point is whether we need, if we're going to cluster them in the cloud native world, to get an identity type to the GVM, or it's going to be really cut as like we delegate this fully to Kubernetes and to whatever service discovery behind that.
No, I think we can, just like I told you, we need to first relate the state outside in a different cache system that is working properly on Kubernetes. There are several cache systems that are working well, and you can relate the state of the JVM. And about clustering, okay, you don't have clustering. Kubernetes does not make any sense to do clustering in a good way. You need to let Kubernetes to decrease the number of pod of your deployment based on your strategy in your deployment file. So that's the good idea about Kubernetes. So if you are creating a product or application, the problem is if I deploy the application and my application server on the environment of the customer A, it's working. On the customer B, it's not working for this reason. On the customer C, it's not working for another reason. Kubernetes creates a democratic environment for your application in your middleware. And this is the great benefit to work with Kubernetes. Our company is doing product, so this is a painful problem for us. When you create a product, you are always facing a problem because policy in the customer different, customer by customer, also security policy. And you don't know actually how you face this problem. But if you have an environment with the same principle everywhere, you can avoid this kind of problem. Any other question?
Yeah. Well, you speak about like using the GVM, like this is can be like has a problem in the resource consumed in the plot and so on.
So you're talking about the resource usage.
Yeah, maybe like big increase in the heat and so on, like because the pause terminating, maybe it must send the like signal termination and so on.
Okay. So,
So
I'm really
what
aware
strategy
about
like
I'm really aware about this kind of problem, and so in these days I'm analyzing some memory anomaly consumption problems.
yeah,
So
maybe not setting the limit in the
no, no, okay, you're right. So one thing you need to keep in mind, if not wrong, first you need to use JVM version greater than the 1.8 update 92, because before that version, the JVM does not respect the C group namespace value. So if you restrict the memory usage, Java skip. Yeah. So if you are in a Java with a new version, you don't have any problem. If you fix the memory usage of the container, you're okay. But the problem is if is not the memory usage.
yes.
Okay. Yes, because the Java process is composed by heap and non-heap memory. So what you should do honestly is first a baseline of memory usage, and try to understand what is the right behavior under some I don't know 20 HTTP per second request, for example. And then you can see, okay, how you can scale the JVM for that memory usage, because you always need to be conservative in memory usage. Can be a good way. Also, the calculation of the non-heap memory, it's very complicated because depends about many factors. For example, if you're using a lot of threads, so you have a thread intensive, every thread use a fixed memory around 30 megabyte per thread of non-heap. So it depends the calculation. That's why you need the baseline, because it's very simple to run a stress test, create your baseline, and get the number instead of calculate exactly why your application is consuming more than 2 gigabytes.
Yes.
It's not simple. Okay.
I know, like maybe the project will die at any time.
Yeah.
Maybe like hook the termination.
Yeah.
To put another one. Like, put the
Auto memory killer is a pain.
I know.
I know. Any other question? So another advice. I'm sorry, another advice. What I'm doing right now to have predictable numbers is to fix the minimum and maximum size. So in Liberty we have a cool feature, because Liberty is using not the Oracle JRE or the Java output, but using the OpenJ9, is another JVM made by IBM. And you can fix this number and use a garbage collection policy called the Jenkon, that it's work really well if you fix the minimum maximum size. If you fix the minimum, the maximum size, this means when the process start and eat all the memory that you need to use. This allows to you this kind of auto memory issue, because the garbage collector works better, have a lot of memory to manage. You don't need to ask the hypervisor, okay, can you give me please some memory? So you avoid a lot of problems, and probably by fine tuning the application, you require less memory than the normal memory you're using by giving a lot of memory at the start. So this is another advice. You need to increase the volume, please.
On Liberty, does it support
So Maven Gradle, okay, there are several projects under the GitHub of Liberty that allow you as a developer to have some Maven plugin to build, develop, and test. They are creating a lot of plugin now in the last year. So if you're looking on the GitHub, you have some good example to work, develop. Also, they have some good integration with Eclipse and IntelliJ. It's very simple support for Prometheus because you just need to add. So Liberty has a main file called the service.xml file. Inside you have different sections. One section is the feature manager. In the feature manager section, you declare exactly if your application, for example, need the JMS spec because a Java EE enterprise server must have this spec inside. But if you don't need, you just put only JPA, servlet, and other AGD, for example, and you have only this feature. And for Prometheus works in the same way. You put the Prometheus feature, you follow documentation, and documentation say, okay, when you activate the Prometheus feature, just call the classical / matrix or Prometheus URL, okay? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is interesting because in our company with bank insurance, we have some customer on mainframe, and you need to export, for example, this matrix for log station Kibana, but you can't install FileBit or the Prometheus exporter. But having inside the JVM this exporter, you can avoid this problem, and you have a centralized log in different environment. That is really cool.
And what about the custom metrics coming from your application?
Custom metrics, okay. So Liberty only provide metrics from connection pool and all the stuff from the JVM, not for the application. There is some integration with Jagger and Open Tracing that allow you to track all the annotate method, the JAX-RS. So if you are in this scenario, you can use natively also this integration, and you can have Jagger, Open Tracing.
You can also use some microprofile
Yeah.
stuff.
But it's a trick. It's not really the good way, but there are different ways to take information from the application. But anyway, why you need to take performance metric at the application level? That's the really question. What kind of mix are you looking for? How many memories is using the application? And the question is why you need it? I think it's not the good way to understand how much the single application is eating the memory. The good way is, my experience is, you can take several dump of the memory dump during the day to free dump in a safe hour, so you avoid to block the user activity, and compare the dump and try to understand based on which workload your memory is increasing or not. Because the question is how they are using your application. And you need to find which piece of code is eating your memory. Okay? Any other question?
So for Kubernetes, the easy part that I look, for example, if you go to configure
Okay, yeah. So Liberty has this feature. So you can install Liberty to work in this way. By default, if you change something in the service.xml file, for example, you add, I don't know, a new DDBC pool, is automatically reloaded by the application server
Without the site container. Without the site container.
without a second. So Liberty does the work for you. But let me say, there is always a price. So if you do stuff like that, so play with connection pool or something like this, at the TCP level, they need to reload all the communication. This means you at the certain time you block the connection. There is no communication with the database, and your users probably are not happy.
Speaking about this, like again, I'm as a non Java guy who faced a lot of nightmares with host reloading in the Java world. Like I can take a coffee break while my GBOS is starting to load an X7 function. So if I understood well, I use Open Liberty.
Yeah.
Say I got like a config map or a secret or whatever who's containing the value of whatever XML. I'm like mounting to my code.
Okay, it's not okay. Let me say, you need to force the reload of the configuration. So if you create a config map and this relay in an environment is used by Liberty.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the
Liberty.
scenario. And the only way is to force Liberty to reload the sub-XML file. You can do via call or just by adding a piece of. You need to force via we use an MBIN, okay, call to force the reload.
Gotcha. So
It's not an automatic way, but you can do that.
That's my point. Actually, I'm asking more from CI/CD release to production thing, where again, whatever I'm doing, like say we're going for a blue-green, a canary, or whatever release strategy, I need to. Hey, now I'm doing 50% of change of my microservices to use this conf. So if I use this MB to provoke the reload of the data, I can use the power of Kubernetes to do this.
Yeah.
Sounds like promising.
No, Liberty is a promising project, but let me say, okay, what we're discussing now is how to force Liberty to do some work that is not designed to do. Okay, so this is not the best way. So you can do yes, but as I told you, there is always a price. So the right way to do green deployment, the kind of deployment is use I don't know service mesh or an API gateway, whatever you prefer, what is you are comfortable. This is the best way. So put a load balancer in front of your pod or your application server and route the traffic with the rule you desire. That's the right way. Any other question? Okay, so thank you. And just one thing, we are hiring Yen2 Easy, one DevOps, so please contact Send. Okay, thank you so much.
That's good talk. We're struggling a lot with Java thing, and suddenly we decided to start with Java. The good point, sometimes you think yes, it's way better than stuff. We can create serverless and lambda and the right point actually, it's picking the right design with the right problem.
Because the problem is again, always behind the keyboard.
Actually, you don't want to end up with a fat container of 2 gigabytes that you always try to nurse